Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Welcome back to the Bible for Busy People podcast. I'm Jen, and how do you feel about ghosts? Do you believe in them? In the TV show of the same name, Ted Lasso is asked that question, and his response is, I do, but more importantly, I think they need to believe in themselves, which cracks me up. But ghosts, I wouldn't have said I believed in them before I found out that there was one in the Bible. Our story today contains an unnamed woman who was a medium and a ghost. We're reading today in 1 Samuel 28, starting in verse 3. It says, Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in his own town of Ramah. Saul had expelled the mediums and spiritists from the land. The Philistines assembled and came and set up camp at Shunem, while Saul gathered all Israel and set up camp at Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine army, he was afraid. Terror filled his heart. He inquired of the Lord, but the Lord did not answer him by dreams or Urim or prophets. Saul then said to his attendants, Find me a woman who is a medium, so I may go and inquire of her. There's one in Endor, they said. So Saul disguised himself, putting on other clothes, and at night he and 2 men went to the woman. Consult a spirit for me, he said, and bring up for me the one I name. But the woman said to him, Surely you know what Saul has done. He has cut off the mediums and spiritists from the land. Why have you set a trap for my life to bring about my death? Saul swore to her by the Lord, As surely as the Lord lives, you will not be punished for this. Then the woman asked, Whom shall I bring up for you? Bring up Samuel, he said. When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out at the top of her voice and said to Saul, Why have you deceived me? You are Saul. The king said to her, Don't be afraid. What do you see? The woman said, I see a ghostly figure coming up out of the earth. And what does he look like? He asked. An old man wearing a robe is coming up, she said. Then Saul knew it was Samuel. I'm not sure how descriptive that actually was, but apparently he knew. And he bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. Samuel said to Saul, Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I'm in great distress, Saul said. The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has departed from me. He no longer answers me, either by prophets or by dreams, so I have called on you to tell me what to do. Samuel said, Why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done what he predicted through me. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hands and given it to one of your neighbors, to David. Because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalekites, the Lord has done this to you today. The Lord will deliver both Israel and you into the hands of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground, filled with fear because of Samuel's words. His strength was gone, for he had eaten nothing that day and all that night. When the woman came to Saul and saw that he was greatly shaken, she said, Look, your servant has obeyed you. I took my life in my hands and did what you told me to do. Now please listen to your servant and let me give you some food so you may eat and have strength to go on your way. He refused and said, I will not eat. But his men joined the woman in urging him, and he listened to them. He got up from the ground and sat on the couch. The woman had a fattened calf at her house, which she butchered at once. She took some flour, kneaded it, and baked bread without yeast. Then she set it before Saul and his men, and they ate. That same night, they got up and left. Samuel was the child that Hannah begged God for and promised to present him at the temple to be raised there. He was a godly and truth-telling prophet, anointing both Saul and David, and calling out Saul for his sin and God's rejection of him as king. Here, the Philistines were getting ready to attack Israel, and although Saul went to inquire of the Lord, as was the proper way to approach a battle, Saul's disobedience from another battle meant that God was not answering him. Saul was afraid of the battle ahead, so he did something God did not condone, speaking with the dead. The law in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 9 through 13 says, When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, do not learn to imitate the detestable ways of the nations there. Let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist or who consults the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. You must be blameless before the Lord your God. This is important, and we're going to come back to it. So Saul himself had gotten rid of all the mediums and spiritists in the area while he was king and while he was still in God's favor. Yet, when God started not responding to him, he felt the need to speak to the prophet that he'd always heard the truth from, who was Samuel. Enter the nameless medium. She may have been in hiding, secretly offering her services. The Enduring Word Commentary notes that although sometimes she's called a witch, the word medium is more appropriate as one who mediates a conversation between the living and the dead. Immediately when she spoke to Samuel, she knew she was speaking with the king too. Some say that's because she was a fake and had never seen a real ghost before, but I disagree. I think she was honest, but she was entangling herself in dark supernatural work. It would be really easy to condemn this woman for what she did, but I'm learning how quick I've been in the past to criticize women of the Bible without considering their stories with care. She had been cast out of her community for what she practiced, and technically it was against the law. But thinking back to that passage in Deuteronomy, it's specifically calling out imitating the detestable practices of the nations around Israel. And I don't know that she's doing that here. I think God arranged this situation purposefully. It seemed like Saul needed to hear it again from Samuel, and Samuel re-emphasized what he said in life, that God had rejected Saul as king. Saul didn't have the right to an answer from God. Samuel did warn him about what was going to happen. So, does God condone us just messing around in witchcraft and the supernatural? No. But does God speak and work through us in unexpected ways? Yes. This woman, right or wrong, put herself at risk to do this thing. And then she treated Saul with compassion, despite having been tricked by him, and served him food to strengthen him for the journey home. This woman may have done something technically wrong, but she truly had a heart for people. She was brave, and she was part of continuing God's purpose, even in an unexpected way. To simply write her off is doing her a disservice. Has God ever given you a message through someone or something unexpected? I'll leave you with that. Let's talk again tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.